Who is the most valuable fantasy quarterback for 2020? The answer to that question is next. It's a big day of football. You can do this. Make those good decisions. There's never a better time than this week. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Follow. We're taking a look back at the 2020 fantasy football season. This is one of our 4-part video series titled Fantasy MVPs. In this video today, taking a look at the quarterbacks, taking a look at which players were best for your fantasy teams in 2020. So let's get right into it. Number 5, Ryan Tannehill. The first player on our list of fantasy MVPs at the quarterback spot at number 5 is Ryan Tannehill from the Tennessee Titans. Now, when you're talking about fantasy MVPs, it's not just the points they scored alone, but also the value they brought to your team based on where you drafted that player. So Tannehill starting the season with an ADP of 128.0, just the 28th quarterback off the board in your fantasy drafts, finishing overall at QB7. So that is some great value there. 4 weeks among the top 5, 7 top 12 finishes. Tannehill, 33 passing touchdowns, along with 7 rushing touchdowns for the year. And one of the reasons that I included him among the top 5 over some other players that I considered was the way he finished that fantasy season. In the last 5 weeks, only Josh Allen and Ryan Tannehill had 3 top 5 finishes over that stretch. Rodgers, Brady, Jackson, Carr, all with 2. And if you expand that stat out to the last 7 weeks of the season, Tannehill was QB6 or better 4 times during that stretch. Comparing that to guys like Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson, Mahomes only once was he 6 or better during that stretch, and Wilson not at all. So I gave Ryan Tannehill a nod to get the number 5 spot on this list. Number 4, DeShaun Watson. The next player on our list is DeShaun Watson from the Houston Texans. Got off to a little bit of a slow start last season, as did his team. He was an ADP of 52.5, 6th quarterback off the board in drafts. Finished off the year overall as QB5, so some decent value there. 4 top 5s, along with 10 weeks in the top 12, which was actually tied for second in the league. Also, he led the league with 10 games of 300 or more passing yards, and he was the very most weeks as your top QB scorer, finishing first 3 times during the past season. DeShaun Watson really has been a quarterback stud. We'll have to see what happens this next year, depending on what team he ends up playing with in 2021. Number 3, Kyler Murray. At third, it's Kyler Murray from the Arizona Cardinals. Starting off the year at the ADP of 52.1, the 5th quarterback off the board, but he finished overall as the QB2 for the season. So nice value for Kyler Murray. 7 top 5s and 10 weeks in the top 12 over the course of the season. Kyler had 26 passing touchdowns, which was only tied for 13th, but he did add 11 rushing touchdowns, which was second most in the league, only behind Cam Newton. If he were to up that passing touchdown total in future seasons, he would be an even tougher fantasy player than he already is. He had the second most rushing yards in the league with 819, only behind Lamar Jackson's 1,005 rushing yards for the Baltimore Ravens. And also, Murray was the 5th highest appearing quarterback amongst Yahoo's top 500 teams, appearing at 17.6% of those teams. So Kyler Murray, certainly I would expect to have another great season coming up for the Arizona Cardinals in 2021. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers. At number 2, it's Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers. He was your NFL MVP, but he only hits number 2 on this list, even though he had a great fantasy season as well. ADP starting the year 98.0. He was just the 12th quarterback off the board, but he finished overall as QB3 for the season, notching 8 weeks in the top 5. That's tied for first among all players, and also 13 weeks in the top 12. That is number 1 out of all players. A great year, very consistent. As well, he had 48 passing touchdowns. That was the most in the league. So what more can you ask for from a guy like Aaron Rodgers? He finished as the 2nd highest appearing quarterback on Yahoo's top 500 list, appearing on 20.0% of those teams. And that was actually the 15th overall player amongst all positions. So a great year for NFL MVP, but number 2 on this list, Aaron Rodgers. Number 1, Josh Allen. Our fantasy MVP at the quarterback position is Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills. Just a great year for Allen. Started off with an ADP of 70.9. That was the number 8 quarterback off the board, and finishing overall as QB1. 8 weeks among the top 5 and 10 finishes in the top 12 for Allen. 37 passing touchdowns, 8 rushing touchdowns, even had 1 receiving touchdown, and also had 8 weeks of 300 or more passing yards, and that was tied for 3rd in the league. Ultimately, the reason why I gave Allen the edge over Rodgers was the fact that out of those 8 top 5 finishes, he finished 4 weeks as the number 2 or number 1 scoring quarterback and 7 weeks at 3rd or better. So awful tough to match that. And also, Allen was the highest appearing quarterback on Yahoo's top 500 list, appearing on 30.4% of those teams. That was the 6th overall player amongst all positions. So a great year. Our fantasy MVP for quarterbacks, Josh Allen. Early projections for your 2021 fantasy drafts, looking ahead to quarterbacks. Here's the top 10 list. And listen, don't kid yourself. Just because Patrick Mahomes wasn't on the list in this video in the top 5, I still think he's the number 1 draft pick next year. I think he's far and away above the other quarterbacks in fantasy leagues. I do think this year it's possible you won't see as many drafted quite as high as last year, like you did with Mahomes and Jackson, both going very early. I've got Josh Allen at number 2, just ahead of Lamar, but I think those two are very close. A little bit of recency bias. I think Allen gets that number 2 spot. Kyler Murray at 4. Dak Prescott returning from injury at number 5. I think this is going to be a deep quarterback draft. Aaron Rodgers, 6. Russell Wilson, he was 3rd off the board this past year, and I've got him at 7 next year. DeShaun Watson, I think Justin Herbert, an up-and-coming player after a nice rookie season, and then Ryan Tannehill, just ahead of the other guys. I've got him slated at number 10. Thank you for checking out the video. 1 of 4 videos in our Fantasy MVP series for the 2020 season. Be sure to check out all 4 videos and leave us your comments below. Let us know which players you agree with or which players you think should have been on these lists. And if you enjoy these videos, by all means, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Both of those help out the channel tremendously. And as always, good luck in fantasy. We'll see you next time.